Hi there, I'm Adam Renier.
And I'm Eric Anderson.
This is our website, Speed Check. So the functionality of Speed Check is to check your area's fastest available network speed or broadband speed. So here's our front page. We have a carousel going back between our two main pages of search and contact. So if we want to find our area's speed, we can click right there or the other links that will go to it. And here it brings us to a search bar where we can either enter our zip code in for a wider array or a address for a more particular place. So if I just try to submit something blank, we do get an error or an alert saying, please enter a zip code. So we'll start off by entering a zip code. This is where I grew up. So the fastest in that area was 940. So we'll click on additional information, and it kind of finds a little bit more in depth of 90503. So it knows that it's Torrance, California. There's the coordinates, census block code, and it confirms the fastest speed. But if we want to go a little bit more in depth, let's do that, and we can search. So it confirms 940 for that area, but it also goes a little bit more in depth and finds the follow-on information for those areas in a more specific census block code. So that's the functionality of that's the main functionality of the website. And we also have a contact page where we can get questions or comments from any of the users. So they'll fill out any of their information. If they try to submit a blank form, they'll get an error. And if we just include some basic information and just a placeholder for the comments and post, we do get a success alert saying that it has been sent and we're going to get back to you eventually. So that's what I have, and it's been really fun working with Erik, and I'm going to pass it along to him so he can talk about his part.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to bring up my screen share now. I'd like to talk about what happens on the back end when you search for an address or zip code. And actually, you can search for a lot of different things. I'm going to put in Loyola University and click search, and also click for additional information. I'd like to hear from Ellie if this 987 megabits per second is accurate to what is available to faculty and campus on the student side. Hi, Ellie. Okay, let's get to the actual what's going on. What happens behind the scenes is an event listener picks up the search button click and reads out a zip code. That zip code gets fed into a function get coordinates, where the center of this is fetch, where fetch does an HTTP request over this request string, which starts with api.macbox.com, includes a zip code, and includes a public key, which I had to sign up with Mapbox to get. Fetch sends that string out and then gets a response, turns it into a JSON, and pulls out the features latitude and longitude from the appropriate place within that JSON. Also, it pulls out a name of the place that becomes relevant for the additional information. But for now, I'm going to focus just on the latitude and longitude, because that's what gets fed into the function get block quote. I think you see the pattern here. We're taking coordinates, splitting them into latitude and longitude, another request string, this one to fcc.gov, feeding in latitude and longitude, and getting back that information from which it pulls a block code, which is a code that the census uses to define certain areas, and that's what the FCC has decided to bin their data by. The next is to get the fastest speed from the block code, another request string, this time to opendata.fcc.gov, going into fetch, and out comes a list of data, and the important part of that for us, for our purposes, is the max add down, which is advertised download speed for consumers. And I've got a little bit of code here to calculate the fastest of those and then display that result fastest, which is what we have if I go to a different address and search. That gives us the single result. But meanwhile, if you've been looking closely, you may have noticed that this debug output string has been adding, gets fastest speed added, and it's gotten some additional information added to it over time, specifically everything that gets sent out here. So when you press in additional information, the server doesn't need to add, your web client doesn't need to ask for any new information. It just displays a string that it's been saving all along. Okay, and that's that part of the back end. I'm going to send it back to you, Adam.
Yeah, and so I just want to talk about some of the struggles that we had or that I had. And it's a lot of moving parts. So it was, I think the biggest struggle was just being able to fit it all in one, kind of wrap your mind around what it's doing and kind of get past that so it all can be presented in a sensible manner. How about you, Eric?
I thought that working my way through all the different APIs was going to be the difficult part, but once I realized that it had already been done by the FCC, it was fairly it was straightforward enough to well, no, I was confused by the APIs were challenging to get through, but once I understood what I wanted them to do, I actually went through and did it in Python, which was pretty easy to do for me. But then translating that into JavaScript, I found the things that are easy for me in Python are quite difficult in JavaScript. And that was probably the biggest challenge for me, which is perhaps appropriate in a web development course where I'm supposed to be learning about web development, which includes JavaScript. So there you go.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we've got. And so thank you, class, for listening. And I hope everybody has a good end of your semester and a good winter break.
Thank you.